Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our monthly meeting of the Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals. At this time, I would like to ask everyone who is able to stand and join us as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I will now call our meeting to order. At this time, if you haven't already, please silence your cell phones, thank you. For those of you who do not have a copy of the agenda or who are attending for the very first time, we will address cases that are first on consent. These are cases that have been reviewed by the board and by the professionals from various departments in the county and to which there is no known opposition at this time. We have discussed these in our work session. Certain staff comments and stipulations have been made, and we do not anticipate any further discussion is needed for decision. So as we go forward, the County Zoning Division Manager, Mr. John Peterson, will read each case into the record. Mr. Peterson will ask that you raise your hand as your case is called to signify that you are present. If you are here in opposition to a case that is currently on consent, Mr. Peterson will ask you to identify yourself as that case is read into the record. We will then pull that case off of consent and hear it as part of our regular case agenda. We will then vote on all of these cases still on consent at one time. Once we have approved the cases on consent, we will move forward to our regular case agenda. With that, Mr. Peterson, will you please get us started?
Sure. There are two cases on today's agenda which have been withdrawn without prejudice, and these two cases will not be heard today. First case is variance case V1 of 2026, Joseph Barna. This case has been withdrawn without prejudice. It will not be heard today. The next case is variance case V9, Anthony Chanot. This case has been withdrawn without prejudice. It will not be heard also. And with that, Madam Chair and Board, I'm ready to start the consent agenda. Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals, variance hearing consent agenda for January 14th, 2026. First case on consent is variance case V141, Jennifer Bergener. Request a variance to, one, allow for two accessory structures, which are a garage number 1 and garage number 2 to be located on a residential property without a principal building. And number 2, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure, which is garage number 2 from required 100 feet to 6 feet adjacent to the northern property line in land lot 683 of the 19th district. The property is located on the east side of Old Villa Rica Road, north of Bagley Forest Drive. Staff recommends approval, subject to traffic comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to the variance case of V141? Okay, let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V2, Janice D. Hines requests a variance to reduce the rear setback from required 30 feet to 22 feet in land lot 675 of the 17th district. The property is located on the south side of Dunbar Trail, north, east, and west of Tristan Drive. Staff recommends approval, subject to stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? The applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V2? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V3, Austin Case requests a variance to, 1, reduce the setback for an accessory structure, which is a proposed 910 square foot two-story garage from required 100 feet to 12 feet adjacent to the eastern property line. Number 2, allow an accessory structure, which is a proposed 910 square foot two-story garage to be located closer to the road than the principal building. And number 3, allow an accessory structure, which is an existing 64 square foot playset to be located closer to the road than the principal building in land lot 82 of the 1st district. The property is located on the northwest corner of Hampton's Farm Drive and Pinewood Court. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Detached garage is not to be used for residential or commercial uses. Is the applicant present? The applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V3? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V4, Parminda Singh requests a variance to, one, allow a second electrical meter at the existing 900 square foot garage. Number two, allow three accessory structures, which is the existing carport number one, carport number two, and carport number three to be located to the side of the principal building. Number three, allow an accessory structure, which is an existing 900 square foot garage to be located on the side of the principal building. And number four, allow an accessory structure, which is an existing 576 square foot barn to be located on the side of the principal building in land lots 222, 223, 280, and 281 of the First District. The property is located on the south side of Avon Road, east of Hyde Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to the accessory structure not to be used for residential or commercial uses. Is the applicant present? The applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V4? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V5, Peach State Pool Service and Builders request a variance to, number one, allow an accessory use, which is the proposed pool equipment to be located on the side of the principal building. And number two, increase the maximum allowable impervious coverage from 35% to 36.06% in land lot 111 of the 16th district. The property is located on the northeast side of Jefferson Ridge Way, north of Sandy Plains Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? The applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V5? I'll let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V6, Kip Thompson requests a variance to, one, reduced setback for an accessory structure, which is a proposed 400 square foot garage, required 35 feet to 5 feet adjacent to the southern property line. And number two, allow an accessory structure, which is a proposed 400 square foot garage to be located closer to the road than the principal building in land lot 740 of the 16th district. The property is located on the southwest corner of Kenridge Court and Kenridge Drive. Staff recommends approval, subject to the accessory structure not to be used for residential or commercial purposes. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V6? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V7, Barbara McCree requests a variance to allow a temporary or permanent sign to cover more than 50% of the window glass surface for each pane of glass in land lot 69 of the First District. The property is located on the east side of Woodlawn Drive, north of Lower Roswell Road. Staff recommends approval. Is the applicant present? Is the applicant here for V7, Barbara McCree? Is there anyone here opposed to this variance? Okay, Madam Chair and Board, the applicant's not present and there's no one opposed. Would it be the board's desire just to lead us one on the consent agenda? Okay. All right, moving on, variance V8, Jennifer Polatzchek requests a variance to, one, reduce the major side setback from required 35 feet to 11 feet. And number two, reduce the rear setback from required 35 feet to 4 feet adjacent to the western property line in land lot 227 of the First District. The property is located on the northwest corner of Willow Point Parkway and Willow Point Court. Staff recommends approval, subject to, one, traffic comments, and number two, stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? Oh, let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case of V8? So we got two. So we'll pull that one off consent and put it in its regular order, Madam Chair and Board. Okay. Okay, next one is variance case V10, Armin Katie and Danny M. Garcia Zerat request a variance to reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure, which is a proposed 216 square foot kitchen area from required 35 feet to 28 feet adjacent to the northern property line in land lot 29 of the 19th district. The property is located on the north side of Old Dallas Road, south of Dallas Highway. Staff recommends approval. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V10? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Okay, variance V11, Christopher Hembry requests a variance to, 1, increase the maximum allowable impervious coverage from required 35% to 43%. And number 2, allow an accessory structure, which is an existing 132 square foot gazebo to be located at the front of the principal building in land lot 23 of the 20th district. The property is located on the south side of Boxwood Trace, north of Boxwood Drive. Staff recommends approval, subject to stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V11? All right, let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V12, Jill and Pam McClure request a variance to allow an accessory use, which is the proposed pool equipment to be located on the side of the principal building in land lot 293 of the 20th district. The property is located at the terminus of Chatfield Point. Staff recommends approval. Is the applicant present? Present. Applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case of V12? Okay, let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case of V15, Carrie E. Carbone and David Carbone request a variance to increase the maximum allowable impervious coverage from required 35% to 38% in land lot 982 of the 16th district. The property is located on the south side of Canton View Walk, west of Old Canton Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? The applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V15? Hey, let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V16, Travis Johnson requests a variance to increase the maximum allowable impervious coverage from required 35% to 38.25%. And number 2, reduce the side setback from required 10 feet to 5 feet adjacent to the southwestern property line in land lot 601 of the 16th district. The property is located at the terminus of Lowworth Lane. Staff recommends approval, subject to stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V16? All right, let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V17, Antonio McDowell and Emma Rose McDowell request a variance to, 1, increase the maximum allowable impervious coverage from required 40% to 45%. And number 2, reduce the rear setback from required 40 feet to 28 feet in land lot 746 of the 17th district. The property is located on the northeast side of Gilmore Road, north of Cantrell Road and Whitehall Court. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, applicant mitigate the overage impervious surface with stormwater management prior to permitting. Number 2, existing deck post to be removed from the sewer easement. And number 3, pervious pavers to be used under the deck. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V17? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V19, Federal Express Corporation requests a variance to reduce parking spaces from required 1,078 per variance V115 of 2023 to 1,064 parking spaces in land lots 174 and 175 of the 20th district. The property is located on the southeast corner of Old 41 Highway and Airport Road. Staff recommends approval. Is the applicant present? And the applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V19? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V20, Dina and David Venus request a variance to, 1, reduce the major side setback from required 35 feet to 30 feet. And number 2, reduce the rear setback from required 35 feet to 28 feet in land lot 240 of the 20th district. The property is located on the southwest corner of Mountainside Trace and Crestmont Way. Staff recommends approval. Is the applicant present? Is the applicant here for V20, Dina and David Venus? Is there anyone here opposed to this case? Madam Chair and Board, the applicant is not present. Would it be the board's wish to leave this one on consent? Okay. Thank you. And lastly, variance case V21, Farnaz Carr requests a variance to, 1, allow an accessory use, which is a proposed pool to be located on the side of the principal building. Number 2, allow an accessory use, which is the proposed pool equipment to be located on the side of the principal building. Number 3, allow an accessory structure, which is proposed freestanding deck number 1 and freestanding deck number 2 to be located on the side of the principal building. Number 4, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure, which is the proposed freestanding deck number 1 from required 5 feet to 2 feet. And number 5, reduce the front setback from required 50 feet to 49 feet in land lots 977 and 1040 of the 16th district. The property is located on the west side of Indian Hills Parkway, north of High Green Drive. Staff recommends approval. Is the applicant present? I'll let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V21? So we have one person. Okay. Let the record show there's one person opposed. So we'll pull that one off consent also, Madam Chair and Board. And with that, that completes the consent agenda, except for V8 and V21, which will remove to regular agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns about any of these cases from the board? All right, with that, I will entertain a motion for approval.
Move to approve the consent agenda as amended by the removal of the opposed cases.
And a second, please.
Second.
Second by Ms. Swanson. Place your votes. Passes 5-0. Thank you. For those who were on the consent agenda, you are now free to go. If you do leave, please do so quickly and quietly so that we may proceed with our regular case agenda, and we'll give you a few moments to do so. Thank you. All right, we are now ready to proceed with our regular case agenda. Our procedure here is that Mr. Peterson will read a case into the record. The applicant and/or representative of the applicant who wishes to speak will be asked to come forward to be sworn in. Likewise, anyone wishing to speak in opposition or support will be asked to come forward to be sworn in as well. The applicant and the opposition will have a total of 10 minutes to present their case, regardless of the number of individuals speaking for either side. All testimony must be given to the podium to my right, where there is full AV capabilities available. Please be sure to speak into the mic so that we can clearly hear you. Following the presentations, members of the board may ask questions directed at either party. Please note that once comments from both parties have concluded and the public hearing has been formally closed, no further comments will be permitted unless specifically requested by a member of the board. If you are called upon, you will be asked to return to the podium to respond. With that, Mr. Peterson, we are ready for our first case.
Okay, first case we're going to hear today is variance case V149, Trailside Equities LLC. Request a variance to reduce the front setback from required 45 feet to 35 feet in land lot 112 of the 20th district. The property is located on the east side of Littleport Lane, west of High Noontide Way. Is the applicant present? Yes. Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V149? We got 3. Let the record show there's 3 people opposed. All those who wish to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in.
As you proceed up, if you would, first of all, good afternoon. If you would state your name for the record and share with us anything that you would like.
Good afternoon. My name is Jordan Deeney. I'm the applicant for this project. Previously, we were able to pull up the site plan for this, and I have it on my laptop too, if I can just pop it on the camera there. Whatever's easier. whatever's easy. Okay, as I said, I'm Jordan Deeney, I'm the applicant for this. We are seeking a reduction of 10 feet on the front setback of this home. The current setback is set to 45 feet, and we'd like to reduce it to 35 feet. This home is part of this plotted lot is part of a common development and was platted originally as a septic lot. There is no access to sewer here. The reason we are asking for this reduction is due to a combination of issues, the first two being topography and septic. These two do not work well together. When dealing with septic, we are not allowed to touch the soil. We can't move it from here to there. We can't move it at all. We can't even remove tree stumps in this area because it impacts the soils. And when building on slope, you need to move the dirt around to build. So these two issues butt their head a little bit on this property. We also have issues with this current front setback being rather large for a small neighborhood cul-de-sac lot. From my experience, it is not uncommon for homes in Cobb County to have a 35-foot front setback in this situation with this zoning. And also the left rear property line also causes us issues as it angles and kind of pinches down on the lot and the viability for installing septic there and building setbacks. The issues that were brought up previously in the last meeting were mostly around septic. Everything in this proposed plan meets county required setbacks. And this again is a platted septic lot that is just a little bit difficult and needs a little bit more room given with today's current building codes and restrictions. Every aspect of this project fits inside of county setbacks except for this one issue from stormwater and structures. Without this approval for a slight reduction in setback from the street to a standard present throughout the county, this lot will be unbuildable in our opinion. Storm runoff for this property goes into a pipe under the road, under Little Port Lane, and exits near the rear property across the street, which we do own and we are just finishing building a home on. There was a permit approved for the piping work prior to our purchase, and that was completed. Speaking with Mr. Beloin, he has stated that he would like to see a special stipulation that building here would not change the current flow of water in the stormwater easements towards neighboring properties, and we're in full agreement with that. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from the opposition. And you have a combined total of 10 minutes. If you will state your name for the record, please, both of you.
Yeah, my name is Joseph Malewski. This is my wife, Linda, and we occupy a home adjacent to this property and have for 20 years. Okay, can this be put up somehow? Same as that, but only with some a little color added to it. But forgive me, but I've never gone before a board before, so I'm going to do the best that I can. And my neighbor next door is Robert Sprayberry. He was here last time to express his opposition. He couldn't make it today, so he's asked me to do it. And I'm going on his notes. There's nothing in here that I don't agree with. It all makes sense, but I'm going to do the best that I can in front of y'all. Okay? Okay, so this lot, as I understand it, as long as I've been there, has been unbuildable for over 20 years. The original developer looked at it, but he certainly had no intention of building on it. The original development, I think, put in about 20 houses, and there's maybe 60 or 70 now all told, and they did not build on it. D.R. Horton came in after the 2008 economic issues and put in a whole bunch of homes throughout the subdivision, but also did not choose to build on that property because I believe even they believed, with as many homes as they build, that it was unbuildable. The lot is steeper than a 45-degree grade, from what I understand, somewhere between 50 to 60%. And we have We have some photographs that, actually, my wife, are you there? She's always behind me, always supporting me. 56 years, that's pretty good, right? So, so she went down in there, and she took a whole bunch of photographs also that you can see. The angle is really steep, much more than we believe. And from what I understand, you're going to kind of rotate through those? Awesome, perfect. From what I understand, there are 2 field lines, so if one of them fails, we got some pretty big problems. Natural grade should be slight, I get that, but here at 50% or so, no way should that variance be approved. A pump, from what I understand, a pump functions to move gray water up. With a loss of power, everything between the distribution box would go back downhill. When that happens, the distribution box would fill up, and it would back up into this new house, not just with gray water, but I guess laundry water, which is not classified as gray water, but basically is gray water. The unsuspecting homeowner would not know about these potential issues. And if and when that happens, we're setting up that homeowner for failure. If and when that happens, to run into the stormwater easement, which we showed up on there before, he had it up on the screen also. Then the flows also would go into the Army Corps of Engineer property, which is a significant concern. The new homeowner basically would be sitting on a ticking time bomb, according to Robert, and I agree with that. The power in our subdivision went out a couple of days recently, and it will happen again. It's not a question of if it will go out, but things happen. It's when it will go out. Not only that, a pump is a machine. I'm 77 years old. As I get older, you look surprised. Thank you. So as I get older, this machine also has more and more problems. And this machine will eventually have problems and fail and shut down. And when that happens, then what's going to happen to that water? Where is it going to go? Where is it going to flow? Where's the gray water going to go? And I recognize that septic systems are very common, but just not in a situation like this. We might as well put up a sign stating, or the builder might, or whatever you want to do, buyer beware, because there will eventually be problems. There must have been a reason why everybody else felt this lot was unbuildable all these years, and even the person trying to build on there suggested that it's been listed that way. I guess to sum it all up, I look around this room, would you all want to buy this house with that knowledge and potential concern? If the answer is no, then you must deny this variance. I appreciate it. I don't have anything else. You have anything else you want to add? You sure? Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. We've heard from applicant and opposition, and so we'll close the public hearing on this case. It does reside in District 1, so we'll turn it over to Commissioner Boulogne to lead the discussion.
Thank you, Chair. Can you folks come on back, the opposition? Let me try to understand and see if we can get staff to address all the concerns you have.
I've got a son that's an engineer. I certainly am not. So
You have what?
I have a son that's an engineer, so if these get too complicated, you're going to get a blank stare from me. But
Okay.
do the best I can from what I understand.
Sure. So where do you live relative to the property in question?
We live on High Noontide Way,
We're
so
the house that's right next to the field, the drainage field.
Okay. All right. And as I understand it from looking at a topo, and we can pull that up, I think we can pull that up. Can we pull that up? Okay. So in looking at this, it looks like water flows downhill from your property onto this lot, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
There's actually a stream
Well, it looks like a stream.
Yeah,
but
when
At the
it,
bottom, it just catches all
with
the
a heavy
water.
rain, there's quite a bit of water that goes down that stream from there, yeah.
Would you describe that as an all-weather stream or no?
No.
No? Okay, so, all right. Now, do you have a septic tank on your property?
No, we are city water and sewer.
Okay. All right, so tell me again, start with your first concern. Let's see. One of your concerns was, since they were having to pump sewage into a drainage field, basically, or to a box, then to be divided and go into drainage fields, that if power went out, that could be a concern, right? That was one concern, power going out?
Yes.
So we have to deal with that. And then, what other concerns did you have about the septic system being there and/or the house being 10 feet closer to the Little Port Lane, which is actually further away from you, right?
Correct.
So that's kind of a good thing, further away from you generally, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, we've lived there for 20 years, and I used to travel intensely, and I actually wanted a house back there because for security purposes, when was home alone. Right now, I really, honestly, if there's a way that it could be buildable, fine. But I just don't see it because of the angles of the drainage and the potential of that gray water.
Well, the hill, it's so steep coming down.
Yeah.
And the field, the drainage fields are right there in that hill. I don't get it.
All right. So, based upon the location of what you describe as not being an all-weather stream, but being like a swale running through there, do you have any concerns at all regarding the property to the south of this property on Little Port?
Properties to the south.
Yes.
Well, I think there's a
Because-
property
because
right
what-
next to it that's listed as an out property. In
Yeah,
other words, it's
'cause-
definitely not buildable because the drainage, I think, goes right through their property.
Yeah, but I just want to make sure that I don't need to worry about this property here, and I don't think I do, because if you look at the contour lines, we're coming back uphill when you get to this property to the immediate south on Little Port, correct?
All I know is it's going from our property, it's going directly downhill.
Well, from your property, but from V149, it's really not going to go
Oh,
onto that property, because you can see the contour lines well before you get to the house are at 911, 912, and 915, right?
well, that lot is not buildable, but that's
Outlet.
it's an outlot. But that is a slope, it's still sloping down.
Intensely, yeah.
Okay. Anything else we need to consider? Because I'm going to get staff up here and try to work through these things.
No, I think, again, Robert did a pretty good job of explaining it. Robert was a former councilman, had held other positions with the police department and political positions in other counties. So he's more used to being in front of a group like this, and he unfortunately couldn't be here today.
Yeah, where does he live?
So he'd do a better job in answering these questions, but I guess our main concern is that gray water's not going to go uphill, and if there's going to be an issue, it's, would we experience the stink and the smell of it? Yeah, but it's the homeowner that we're actually really concerned about, whoever's going to be building that house in the future or entering it. What could happen to them and to their house, because everything's going to flow into their house.
Thank you. Let me move on to, let me start with stormwater.
You can have a seat. Thank you so much.
Hello, Andrew Heath, Cobb County Stormwater Management.
Okay, thank you. And you have a number of comments on this file, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do any of them pertain per se strictly to the variance? Do any of your comments pertain solely to the variance request, such that you have a problem with the idea of the house sitting 10 feet closer to Little Port Lane?
No, and actually, I'm in support of that in the effort that they're trying to achieve to gain more room at the rear of the lot for what they're proposing. So actually, yes, I would be in favor of that. I think it helps the lot if it's going to be built on.
Okay, then let's roll through the rest of your comments. Comment 2, the proposed home in this lot must have its lowest floor situated 2 feet above the roadway overflow elevation to ensure the home does not flood, right?
That's correct.
All right, so they might have to build up a pad right there a little bit, or is it out?
They, yeah, the site plan that they had up there a minute ago shows maybe a little more clearly. They're proposing to build a wall kind of along the low side of the lot, kind of adjacent to that drainage easement that you see depicted on the screen. And then it would be filled up somewhat there. And the idea of that elevation is that we don't want to be completely reliant upon the pipe that's going under the road. So if something were to happen to that pipe, if it were to collapse, clog, for whatever reason, we don't know what would happen to it. Under the worst case scenario, water would just pass over the roadway and the home itself would be protected. And I think they're going to achieve that, like I say, by using that wall and then filling that portion of the lot where the actual home will be built to be at a little bit higher elevation. That's how they would kind of overcome that topographical challenge.
Okay. Have you looked at the plan to determine whether the existing plans exceed total impervious of 5,000 square feet?
I wasn't able to determine on their plan if they were or not. My comment on to the board is, you know, that if that were to be required, then they would have to provide some stormwater mitigation for that. I don't know, honestly, based on their plan, if they're going to be over that or not. So when they submit a site plan, if the board decides to approve the variance, when they submit a site plan through, then we would evaluate that at that time. If they need to provide that mitigation, then we could provide that. We could require that then.
All right. We don't have anybody here from the county health department, right? At these meetings?
To my knowledge, no.
Right. All right. So the comment was that this is not an all-weather stream. It basically functions as something of a culvert. With that in mind, and given the general flow of water and off this lot towards what amounts to a culvert, what other measures would be prudent to minimize the probability of any, if you know, to minimize, since you're an engineer, to minimize the probability of any gray water, as it's called, leaving this lot?
Right. Probably, you know, if I were an engineer looking at it, aside from stormwater, of course, you know, in a system like that where you have a system where wastewater leaves the home, goes into a septic tank, usually there's water that leaves that septic tank into a dosing tank, and then there typically would be at least probably multiple pumps in that system to dose that water into the septic system at appropriate times. So that system should, you know, have multiple pumps is what I would think you should have. So you have redundancy there. So if one fails, you have another backup. And then it also should have like an alarm type system that would notify the homeowner if there were a fault in the system or the level rose beyond a certain level, it would notify the homeowner that, hey, we have a problem, so that way the homeowner could respond to that. That way you could intervene before you have any other real worry about the system.
Anything else at all in the way of any kind of further walls or anything to prevent gray water from leaving this property?
The area that's there adjacent to where the stream is, and usually in wastewater flows, the actual flow rate, unlike a storm event, the flow rate is just measured in gallons. It's kind of small flow rate. You know, when you wash your hands or take a shower, you're talking about usually just a few gallons. So even if there were an escape, probably the best defense against that is that water just kind of makes its way over that natural surface, and then you have the opportunity for just natural organisms in the soil, just like the drain field is doing to incorporate that. But that would definitely be a secondary, you know, you might say belt and suspenders kind of approach to it. Definitely the best way to do it would be to have redundancy in the dosing tank and an alarm system, so that that way you could just know, oh, hey, there's something wrong, and you could immediately, you know, respond to that.
All right. What was the secondary measure? What would that be?
Well, like I say, probably I would want to have redundant pumps in the
Right.
dosing tank.
Got that?
Probably would want to have an alarm system
Got that.
incorporated that would notify the homeowners. And then, like I say, if they're in the chance that there were a release of that partially treated wastewater from the dosing tank, that's going to be probably a relatively small amount of water that's going to kind of seep over the existing ground surface. And so that's going to probably do a lot to actually, you know, attenuate really the effect of that runoff downstream. So it wouldn't be a desirable condition. It wouldn't be something that we would want to see happen. But just that natural area below the wall where the water's running would be an area where that water has a secondary opportunity to soak in before it leaves the property. But certainly the options 1 and 2 I mentioned, to just prevent that from occurring, that would be the real way to go.
Okay, thank you. If anyone else has questions? Okay, I have some questions for staff then. Thank you. Okay, so you've heard all this. Do you have some further thoughts, Mr. Peterson, on what we should do here?
You know, as far as what the applicant said, I do believe that where they're showing the septic field is probably the proper place for it, since that's where the health department wants it. And that really kind of controls everything else on the property as far as we put the house and driveways and everything else. So what, you know, whether this variance is approved or denied, I think the septic system is going to go right there on that ridge. You know, if there's enough evidence here with the topography and the drainage easement to show that there's a hardship, then the variance board should consider the variance.
Okay. All right. The only other thought I had that wasn't covered by, you heard what Andrew suggested, things that could be done, redundancy and pumps and dosing tank and an alarm system. Do you have any thoughts on those recommendations?
That would really be the health department question, Commissioner Bowling.
What about, the only other thing I thought of, I know some houses have like a Generac system or something. You know, if the concern is when power goes out that the septic system won't work, have we ever required that before of anybody?
I don't believe so. You know, we can ask the applicant to see if they're willing to put some type of generation in case there's a power outage.
Okay. Well, let's do that. Can you come on, can the applicant come back up? Let me just tell you that as a Cobb County resident, my understanding of how many times, I'm not home most days, but my understanding of how many times the power goes out is based on night, but maybe it's a couple times a year. Maybe a couple more when it's real localized, when somebody hits some utility box or something. But what thoughts do you have on the various suggestions that we've heard here today regarding what could be done to minimize the probability of there being a problem with the septic system?
Yeah, I think everything that was put forth is pretty reasonable, especially, I mean, obviously we would not build a home where septic just flows into the house when the power goes out. My only pushback would be the generator, because there's not just one issue that happens when power goes out in neighborhoods, and I don't know what requirements we have for, you know, making sure home systems stay intact when power goes out.
But you'd be fine with a condition regarding redundancy of the pipes or pumps and dosing tank, and that there be an alarm system? You're fine with those things?
Yeah, and I'm not aware of the current standards for that because I haven't dealt with this before, but I would imagine that they have that in place already because you need a fail-safe for that.
Okay, and have you read the other stormwater management comments?
Yes, everything that you just reviewed?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
You're fine with all those?
Yes.
and you're fine as well with the condition that there be, here's one small problem I have. You're showing a little bit of septic field within the side setback. If you go back to your plan.
Oh, sorry.
You see where your soils are there? Would it be possible to keep it out of the side setback, the 12 feet?
Which, are you talking about the north side?
No, I'm talking about the 12-foot building sideline shown on the plan. I guess that would only apply within the boundaries, and you're not really having it within those boundaries. It's behind those.
Yeah, I do know that the code for drain fields is 5 feet from boundary lines. They don't have the same rules as the building setbacks.
Okay.
But I mean, we can make every effort that we can. I just know that this is tight, and that's why we're here.
All right. Does anyone else have questions of the applicant? All right, you can have a seat. I'm ready to
Thank
make
you,
a
sir.
motion. So, my motion to grant the continuance is based upon the fact that the lot's in a cul-de-sac. And if we could pull that picture back up we just had. Do you have the one with the plan in it? Yeah. So, as you can see here, most of this house is going to be outside the 45-foot building line, with the exception of the garage, which is nearest to the cul-de-sac. So it's really the cul-de-sac that largely creates the need, the wider cul-de-sac rather than the rest of the road that creates the need for the variance. Otherwise, they could accomplish that without a variance. So my motion is for approval of the variance request, subject to all stormwater management comments and subject to the additional conditions that not including the outside footprint of the house, the driveway, the 10-foot area immediately around the house, that the contours of the lot will not be changed in any manner that would change the direction of surface water flows. Such as to concentrate the flow of water towards any immediately adjacent lot. And that the applicant obtain and include in the construction redundancy in the pumps and dosing tank and an alarm system as recommended by Mr. Heath. It's also recommended but not required that the applicant consider a Generac system when building.
We have a motion with conditions from Commissioner Borlon. Is there a second? Is there a discussion before we have a second? Okay, can I have a second? Second from Ms. Russell. Place your votes, please. V 149 passes 5-0. Next case, Mr. Peterson.
Okay, next case is variance case V8. Jennifer Plasticek requests a variance to 1, reduce the major side setback from required 35 feet to 11 feet. And number 2, reduce the rear setback from required 35 feet to 4 feet adjacent to the western property line in land lot 227 of the 1st District. The property is located on the northwest corner of Willow Point Parkway and Willow Point Court. The applicant was present earlier, and there's 2 people here opposed. All those who would like to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in.
Good afternoon. If you will please state your name for the record and also go ahead and give us information about your variance request.
Yes, my name is Jennifer Polachek, and with me is David Fee. I have paper copies, so I don't know, do I hand these out to everyone? I've been a homeowner in Willow Point since 2003. I have always worked from my home as an outside architectural and interior furnishing sales rep. I work with many state, local, and federal government agencies, as well as universities and hospitality accounts throughout Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi. So my current needs is for a garage to be put on my house, and in doing the garage, we would like to add a master suite above that garage. My current setup in my house with my current garage is storage for the furniture samples I have. Just for an example, last week I am working on some spaces that are being built in downtown Atlanta for the World Cup, and I had some very large mock-ups delivered that go to the clients and then come back to my house to be packed up and picked up. I do not have any customers ever come to my house. My largest client is the Department of Defense, and I can tell you commanders and generals are not driving to Marietta, Georgia to visit me about a chair. My boyfriend is moving in with his 2 children. He is an insurance agent, and his corporate office is based out of Tampa, Florida. And when he's not traveling, he needs a home office. The current setup of my house, if you look at the first packet that you receive, which is the large package, that first picture shows what it looks like when you pull into Willow Point, when you turn off of Lower Roswell Road into Willow Point. That is not my house, that is my neighbor's house. Then you drive up to the stop sign and see my house. If you turn to page 4, the picture with all the trees on it, when you're at the stop sign, that is the view of what my house and my neighbor's house looks like about 8 months out of the year with all of the trees there. So you can't even see my house, you can't see my neighbor's house. And in putting in the garage with the existing, the garage with the master suite, we will be going over the existing paved part of the garage that is there, or the driveway that is there now, and just building a structure up above that. I've worked with the architect to come up with the best possible plan to not try and have to do a variance. We had several structural engineers come out to the house looking at putting the garage in the front of the house, putting the garage possibly to the back of the house. The typography of the lot would require almost our entire budget to come up with the structural foundation to build the garage. So going here and applying for the variance is our most cost-effective option. We did, when we found out that we had opposition from the Homeowners Association and the ECCA, I did reach out to my architect, and we came up with an option 2, which he's labeled as option 3, and that is to go from a 2-car garage to a 1.5-car garage. Well, it isn't our first choice. We do feel it is a reasonable compromise to go to that. That changes the setbacks from 4 feet on the side of the property line back to 8 feet, and the front setback from 11 feet back to 15 feet. We will work with anybody in the neighborhood or the East Cobb Civic Association to replant any trees that come down, and honestly, at this point, there aren't any that need to come down. There are some pine trees on the property that I would like to take down just because I don't want to spend several $100,000 for an addition to have a pine tree fall on my house. And I've already had one from the backyard fall on the house. I also do need the 2-car garage so we can park our vehicles in it. David and his daughter both drive large Ford F-150 trucks. In 2019, both my cars were parked in my driveway and were totaled by a drunk neighbor driving through the neighborhood. So if they had been parked in the garage and we could fit in the garage, that probably wouldn't have happened, and she may have just ended up hitting a tree. And that's all I have. I don't know if you have any questions on the packets that I turned in, or if I can help explain any of the photos or renderings for you.
If you have concluded your testimony, we'll hear from opposition, but you do have 5 minutes left. 5 minutes and 14 seconds.
No, it's storm drain.
And then on the county comments, we revised the drawings that are in there to meet the maximum of 20-foot width on the driveway. Originally, when I turned in the plans, it was a little over 20 feet, so we've addressed that. And then with the storm drain, we talked to the engineer, and we can definitely add the curtain drain and all of the details that are needed for that for the stormwater. And I'd also like to add that the person who is impacted the most by this is my neighbor at 5501, and she has signed off on this.
Thank you very much. If you are finished, we will hear from your opposition. If you all will come forward, you have a combined total of 10 minutes. If you will each identify yourself before you speak.
Hi, my name is Bethany Weidenhammer. I am with the Willow Point HOA. Our president, Nathan Jones, was here. He just had to leave due to time constraints with another meeting. Thank you for hearing us. I'm here because we, as a board, opposed granting of this variance. In addition, our architectural committee cannot approve or deny projects. We're only able to provide guidance and advice, which is generally situated around county codes, which allows us a degree of consistency when responding to requests. Our remaining concerns are a few, but in our opinion, do carry some weight. On the evening of January 12th, the applicants, our HOA president and vice president, were able to have a pleasant conversation about the proposed project. During the conversation, they were able to have an open conversation and eliminate a few of the HOA concerns that we had altogether, but we do still have some larger concerns that still remain. By reducing the setbacks, one of the best features of our neighborhood will be compromised on one of the more visible thoroughways of our neighborhood. The applicant's home is very near one of the neighborhood's main entrances, and the aforementioned feature is our spacious lots. All other homes are in compliance with the county code, and that provides our homes to have a good amount of space between each home, to the side and to the rear, as well as not being butted up to the street. So should the variance be approved, this home would be less than 11 feet from the street and less than 5 feet from the property line. And I'm 5 feet tall, so that's one of me from the property line. While all others have setbacks of 35 feet and 10 feet respectively. So that's going down a lot. It's a 2-story proposed project. It would be highly visible from the stop sign at the intersection that the home sits on. And in our opinion, it seems very out of place and not in uniformity with the other homes as mentioned before. When the neighbor sells their home, we're concerned that the addition could impact the property value and interest in the home for a new buyer. And this in turn could prevent extended vacancy, leading to further deterioration of the property and/or value, or lead to another squatter situation in our neighborhood. We're also trying to avoid any precedents that approval may set. We appreciate the ability to live in such a great neighborhood, and although we agree that all of our neighbors should similarly enjoy their property, we do feel it's important to try to preserve our neighborhood's appeal and uniformity through this opposition. We would also like to thank you for your consideration and allowing us the time to share our concerns with you today. Now, we as a board have not heard, we haven't seen the new alternate version that she mentioned. I guess she mentioned it to Nathan, but that was just the other day. So the board has not had a chance to review this alternate. We would be willing to take a look at it and see if it fits more into our community aesthetics, I guess. So there is that. Thank you.
And could I get this put up? And I'll have some others.
Good afternoon to you as well.
Yep. My name is David Rumrill. I am the East Cobb Civic Association case manager for this case. We have reviewed this variance request. Also, Willow Point Subdivision is a member of our civic association. This variance request asks for up to a 68% reduction in the required setbacks to add a new two-car garage, office, storage space, and an in-law suite. ECCA is opposed to the granting of this variance as submitted. First of all, we know there is no stated hardship on the application. There's supposed to be a place on the application to state the hardship. It is blank. ECCA believes there is no hardship exists. The application's written response to our notice of opposition that was sent to the BZA is long and extensive, but appears to be more a series of wants rather than something a variance should be granted for. Most of the issues raised by the applicant are self-imposed, such as parking of 2 large trucks, the need for extra space to accommodate guests due to conversion of current quarters to office space, operation of 2 businesses from the home requiring extra office space, and greater storage of business items such as multiple large samples and multiple deliveries to the home. These reasons seem to be more of a series of wants for increased business uses rather than needs for increased family size. I don't know if they consider an alternative such as off-site storage of these large samples, combining 2 of the office spaces in the home into 1, or using off-site office space as their business grows. I want you to notice that the house is presently within the required setbacks, the current house, but it sits diagonally across the property. With this orientation, the major side setback is really the front setback for the house. In addition, with this orientation, the house already sticks out in front of the neighboring house, but it is within code at the moment. If you allow this request to reduce the side setback from 35 to 11 feet, over 68% reduction in the setback, and the side setback from 10 to 4 feet, a 60% reduction, the house will stick out significantly further, resulting in a much greater impact on the viewscape of the subdivision, and particularly from the adjacent home at 5501, which sits further back. ECCA believes the applicant is trying to put too much into too small an area. This is like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. It's a mismatch. That is, when something is forced into a place it doesn't belong. The ECCA and the HOA are also concerned about the view from the front of the adjacent home on Willow Point Parkway at 5501. Will be partially obscured by extending the applicant's home to within 4 feet of the side property line and 11 feet in front of the setback from the main road. Since the applicant's house sits diagonally and on the front portion of their lot, any extension to the left will be substantially closer to the street than the current setback of the home at 5501 Willow Point Parkway. The applicant indicates also that there is current vegetation between their home and the home to the left, but acknowledges it is not all evergreens, mentioned only 8 months out of the year. Most of the vegetation is deciduous trees and do not provide screening of the view of the current home in the winter from the front of the home at 5501. It appears that most of that vegetation is on the applicant's side of the property. Much of that vegetation may be removed for the requested extension, since it's going to go within 4 feet. We don't wish to see an imposed restriction on the current or future homeowners of the adjacent 5501 Willow Point Parkway with what they may have to do with the vegetation on their property to provide screening of an adjacent structure just 4 feet from the property line. Therefore, ECCA recommends denial of this petition due to the large 68% reduction in the major side setback and within 4 feet of the side property line. The house will stick out significantly further than it does now, resulting in a much greater impact on the permanent viewscape. If these variances are granted, we recommend no outside storage, no clients allowed to come to the house, any new future businesses require an LUP from the BOC, that the planting of evergreen screening approved by the county arborist to be maintained by the current owner, and any future owners of 5501 Willow Point Parkway. That the added structure be subject to the submitted site plans and renderings and inclusion of all county staff comments. I have a couple of more other overheads. I'll try to run through those very quickly since my time is very limited. That's the current house with the extension on it, showing the property lines and how close they want to put the extension to it. Topographical map, slide it on up, that you can see where the new extension would go, and because it sits catty corner, you can see how much in front of the view from the adjacent property owner. This is an unusual situation. The houses aren't in line. They sit very, very catty corner. This is the view from the 5501, taken just a few days ago by the applicant. That fence sits more than about 12 feet off the property line, and they want to extend that garage to within 4 feet of the property line. And so that's what the view looks right now. So 4 to 6 months out of the year, it's not evergreen, and you can see, you would see
Thank
that
you,
on
that's
there.
your time.
Thank you, that's what I wanted to show you.
Thank you so much. Since this case does reside in District 3, we will turn that over to Commissioner Summer to lead our discussion.
Can I have the applicant come back up? Hi. Can you explain for the board why you chose to build to the side and not to the back of your lot?
So the topography of the lot, when you look at my lot, let's see. The current photo of the lot where the garage is and the fence is, once you go through my fence, there's about a 3-foot immediate slope, and then the rest of the property continues to slope back. My property probably sits about on the side 6 to 8 feet taller than my neighbor's property, and then once you get past the edge of my house, there's a straight drop back. We had a structural engineer come out and look at that to stay within the property confinements to not have to do a variance, and it was over $250,000 worth of structural work required before we could build the garage or the master suite. And then putting the addition in the front on the right side of the house, which would still leave me within the property setbacks, would require my entire front yard turning into a driveway.
Okay. So in my estimation regarding this case, your hardship is the topography. You do have a hardship.
Correct. That is my hardship, is the topography of the lot.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to make that clear. And you have samples delivered, how often would you say?
A couple times a month. I get probably about 25 UPS packages a day, which are small samples, the same as anybody getting Amazon or Instacart type of deliveries. And then larger samples such as a chair or a piece of glass or acoustical ceiling products. Those maybe come once to 3 times a month depending on the project, and they're usually delivered on a box truck in a crate that is put in my driveway because the drivers are not allowed to, they're allowed to push anything straight off the back of the truck. They're not allowed to make any turns or radiuses. So when they come to my house, they pull in and it goes straight into my driveway and sits in front of my garage until I can get home and unbox the crate. If I had a garage there, they would be able to pull it straight into the garage, and then I would be able to bring it into the rest of the office. I know that they mentioned about storage facilities. I have used storage facilities, and my samples have been filled with bed bugs.
All right. And then, if I recall, you said that no trees were going to be taken down. regarding?
At this point, the only trees that we wanted to take down were the pine trees because those are typically the ones to go in a storm. Those pine trees have gotten bigger over the 23 years that I have lived in the house. I've already removed, since I've owned the house, 36 pine trees from the lot and would like to remove those remaining 2. And then we will plant other trees and greenery. If the county feels the county arborist needs to be involved in that conversation, I'm happy to have a conversation with them.
Okay. I'd just like to go through the recommendations from ECCA and see if you are okay with them.
Sure.
Okay. No outside storage, as in they deliver it, you take care of it when you get home. Is that kind of how that works?
Yes,
Okay.
100%.
No clients allowed to come to the house.
That is fine. I don't want them at my house.
Okay.
Sorry.
Any new future business requires a land use permit from the Board of Commissioners?
Okay.
Okay. The planting of evergreen screening approved by the county arborist be maintained by the current owner and any future owners on the property line between 5551 and 5501 Willow Point Parkway.
I'm happy to maintain any arborist. I don't know how, if I sell my house, I can hold the next homeowner liable. I don't know if somebody has legal advice on that.
Yeah,
I'd be happy to put that into the sale of the house.
Okay. That the added structure be subject to the submitted site plan and renderings and all the county staff comments that you would be held to.
Yeah,
You've
that's
read.
not a problem.
Okay. Does the board have any further questions?
Do you have any employees come to your house?
No,
Okay, that's it.
Okay.
it's just me. I have no employees.
Okay. If there's nothing further, then you may have a seat.
Okay.
Thank you. So I am comfortable that she does have a hardship. It is the topography of her lot. She has gone to great trouble to get with her architect and her engineers to try to work something that's better, but what she has proposed today is better than what she started with, so we have made progress. And at this time, I would like to make a recommendation to approve V8 with the recommendations outlined in the ECCA comments that I just read out, and also subject to all county staff comments.
We have a motion for approval with conditions.
Can I add one more thing
Sure.
before to add? She submitted 2 plans, one with the 2-car garage and the other one with, it's still 2-car, but a one garage door. So, could you identify what plan that we wanted to go forward with?
Okay, I believe you said it was the 1.5 additional car garage? Is that? Our compromise plan. Oh, okay, the compromise plan. Can you, is there a way to, is it drawing number 3, is that right? At the. Yes, drawing number 3. Yes, you can approach. This one? Yeah, okay, all right. So, and further for the motion that the plans that she is wanting to use are conceptual drawings number 3. All right, anything further?
Do we have any further comments or questions or concerns from the board, John?
Yeah, the only thing I would be wary of in the ECCA recommendation is the one that pertains to the other businesses and land use permits. You know, the code does allow them to have a customary home occupation, which is what they're doing now. Is the board going to apply that to customary home occupations, which you can already do without the board's approval?
I think that is probably not necessary, so I'd be willing to strike that.
If you will modify your motion, that way everybody's clear.
Yes. So my motion is to approve V8 with all of the ECCA recommendations except the new future business requiring a LUP. And that we are using the plan that she is using for her project is conceptual drawings number 3 that was submitted to the board. And that is my motion. What?
Staff.
And all staff comments. It's part of the ECCA, yeah.
All right, we have an amended motion by Ms. Summerhour. Do we have a second?
I second.
Have a second by Ms. Swanson. Call to question. And it passes 5-0. Next case, Mr. Peterson.
Okay, next case is variance case V13, Gary Bryant Gilmore. Requests a variance to, 1, increase the maximum allowable impervious coverage from required 40% per variance case V170 of 2015 to 61%. Number 2, reduce the rear setback from required 30 feet to 13 feet. Number 3, reduce the front setback from required 25 feet to 23 feet. And number 4, reduce the setback for an outdoor fireplace from 5 feet to 0 feet in land lot 23 of the 16th district. The property is located at the terminus of Canopy Drive. Is the applicant present? Okay, applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V13? All right, let the record show there's no one opposed.
Good afternoon. If you will share your name and the details of your variance request.
Yes, my name is Gary Gilmore. I am the project manager over this project, representing Robert and Shelley Slimp, my clients. I have my architect here as well, Timothy Helms. It's first time doing this, so excuse me. What I am proposing is a building setback line to be reduced from 30 feet to 13 feet in the rear to add a addition where currently there is a deck on the home. And we're also asking for an increase in the impervious surface percentage from the 40% to the 61%. The reason for the setback line that we're asking to be reduced is to add additional living space. Currently, there is a deck. The client is looking to add the living space so that they can bring in their loved ones, I guess their elders, they need to come to the home. And so they're asking to increase that space for living instead of a deck. And then as far as the impervious surface, they'll have multiple cars. When these people come, there will be additional cars. They live in the back of the cul-de-sac, which doesn't allow for parking on the street. So they're looking to add an additional garage and additional driveway. When we do the, the living space, we're going to have to change the patio. And so for that, that is increasing the impervious surface. But I have presented to them the option of doing a permeable pavers to allow for the rain wash off to, what am I trying to say? For the permanent pavers, for the new driveway, the rear patio, and the area around their pool, for that to allow for the storm field grid, the stormwater to run off. Right now, the neighbors, they don't oppose. There is on the backside of the property currently a retention pond that buffers them but from their home and the Cobb County School that's there. So that's what we were looking to do. Right now, there is a hardship as far as the topography goes, so we're not able to, as far as the setback line, the property line the property is actually positioned where the topography is hard to build off of. So therefore, that's why we're asking for that setback based off of where the home is aligned to the property. Not sure if that helps or not. I have my architect here. He can probably speak on it a little bit more. This is his design.
Hey, good afternoon. Timothy Helms, Fuse Design Studio. So we've worked with the owner, as Gary had mentioned, to provide this living space that works with the current configuration of the home. The owners are not the original owners of the house, but they have lived in the house for over 15 years. They've seen their family grow here. They don't want to move, right? They just want to age in place and have the ability to take care of their family as well. And so the addition would go off of the rear of the house, which is actually to the top of the image here. So we will say to the left top of the highlighted portion. And the additional garage space would go over to the right where the existing garage is. So we're just extending the existing garage to allow for more vehicles, as well as a portion of the driveway and parking pad. And that's where Gary is mentioning the partially impervious material that we can use that would reduce the amount of runoff. We're also willing to use underground piping or rain gardens to retain all of the runoff on the property. As you can see, the shape of the property is a little interesting, right? Because it has this kind of cut at the corner, and that corner runs into the school system's property. And so what we're essentially requesting is that we're able to run and capture all of that water in that area at the top that's really unusable due to the pool that was put in place several years back before this project was even thought about. So that's kind of in a nutshell, the hardships I would list as the topography, as Gary mentioned. You can even see the topography change in this image without the topography because of the shadow from the house to the back of the property itself. And then the impervious that's what I would attribute a little bit of that to. And then, of course, the unusual shape of the property itself. And Gary mentioned this is at the end of a cul-de-sac. It's at the end of a cul-de-sac at the back of the subdivision. So this is literally the last loop, and then you have to go back out.
Does that complete your testimony?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Y'all just stay right there. We got a lot of issues. The first one is that you are 2,800 feet into the Cobb School Board property, and that needs to be resolved.
You said we're how many
2,800 square feet.
into the property?
You see this yellow line here? You have built over into the Cobb School Board land.
Okay.
That's a problem. You're going to need to get permission. You're going to need to get something from the school board that says they're cool with that or they're not. And if not, you're going to need to jack all that up and out. That's number one.
Okay.
So when did your current owner purchase this property?
Current homeowner purchased property, let's say here. I want to say 2015.
Okay, well, so in 2015, there was another variance case. Are y'all aware of that?
For the pool.
For the pool?
Yes.
Okay. At that time, it was stipulated y'all would use impervious pavers, and you did not. That's a problem.
Okay.
Yeah. You have submitted an architectural rendering, which is not a survey, and we need a survey to determine impervious surface, all that kind of stuff. Do you have that?
We do have a survey,
Survey,
yes.
yes.
Okay, well,
I
that would
thought
have
it was submitted with
been really important to submit. Were you aware of the infringement on the Cobb School Board
No,
property?
no, I was not.
I'd like to speak to that as well. I can provide some photos, but my recollection of the site, I don't recall the pool deck being that large on that side. So I would like to look to see if that pool deck does actually extend back that far. I don't recall it doing that. So I would like to provide some photos of the site itself and the construction as it is today.
Okay, well, our staff has looked at it, and that was their determination, that it was 2,800 square feet into the adjacent school board property.
Okay.
And we can't have that unless you get some sort of agreement. So, all right. Anything else you'd like to add at this time, like about the infiltration system you're going to need to install?
The infiltration systems will be the permeable pavers that I mentioned. We were looking at different designs to present to the client. As far as that goes, we were going to use a grid system with the aggregate base underneath it to allow for the, where is it? So the water will pass through the joints into a clean stone layer, into a structural grid system, and then the grid system will create the void space. This would allow it to slowly infiltrate into the soil instead of just running off.
Okay. So I see the survey, but I'm unable to like see impervious or anything else like that. So, and why wasn't this submitted initially?
That was on me. If it wasn't submitted, that's on me. If it wasn't.
Okay. If y'all will have a seat, and we'll have Andrew Heath come up from Stormwater to address some of the issues.
Okay.
Hello, Andrew Heath, Cobb Stormwater Management.
Hi. Would you like to go over your comments and recommendations regarding this particular case?
Yes. I'm glad to see the applicant has a survey. That was actually one of our requests to try when a lot, especially a lot like this that has, I believe they were requesting a variance for 61% impervious area, so that's a pretty good bit for a single lot. So having a survey is a good starting point to define that, and it also helps us to see what areas on site where, if we need to build a system, where we could actually build it and things like that. And also define the area, like you were talking about, where maybe there's been work across the property line. It helps to define that. So that's a very welcome thing and something that I'd requested in my comments. And then typically what we would do with sites like this that are seeking a variance beyond the maximum allowed zoning maximum is they would provide mitigation for that amount that they're over. And so this site, as you mentioned, it had a previous variance, which, if I recall, that variance allowed the site to go from 35 to 40%. And they had some mitigation considerations in that variance for that smaller increase. And now they're seeking to go to 61%. So my thought was just to sort of fold in that previous variance with this one, and now they're going to go instead of 40 to 61, but let them show on the site plan how they can provide that mitigation through whatever techniques they can use on site. And we'd be glad to sit down with them when we can talk about that. But, preferably would be the idea to get that kind of at least conceptually shown on the plan to make sure that we can actually fit it all in there.
Sure.
And that's really, I think, the gist of my comments.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So at this time, I would like to make a motion that we hold this case and let the applicant get with Mr. Heath on issues that have been raised, and let y'all come back with, did you get permission from the school board? Are they gonna make you dig that up and stay within your property? And then we'll move forward from that. That's my motion.
We have a motion to hold from Commissioner Summerhour. Is there a second? Second from Commissioner Barkley. Call to question. It passes 5-0 to hold V13. If we can take a 10-minute comfort break, that'd be great. And we are back. Thank you guys for allowing us to have a comfort and convenience break. I'm sure that it served all of us well. Now that we have, John, if you will help us resume our cases, please.
Sure. Next case we're going to hear is variance case V14. DC Enclosures, Inc. requests a variance to increase the maximum allowable impervious coverage from required 40% to 54.58%. Number 2, reduce the rear setback from required 30 feet to 12 feet. And number 3, reduce the front setback from required 20 feet to 17 feet in land lots 994 and 995 of the 17th district. The property is located at the terminus of Palisades Court. Is the applicant present? The applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to the variance case V14? None? Okay, let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
Good afternoon. If you will share with us your name and your variance request.
My name is Tom Ingram. I'm with DC Enclosures. We're doing a project for Mr. Miller, and we're asking for a reduction of the variances or the setbacks, because when the house was originally built, it was built over the setbacks. So we want to have that reduced so the house would be within code and no further issues happen. We want to tear down the rear deck that's been on the house because it's quite old and it's unsafe. So we're going to build a new deck in its place and put a sunroom on top of the deck, on part of it, so that the family could have grandkids over and be able to play and stuff like that, and not be sitting in the bright sun or worrying about them being on the old deck. And that's about all I have to say.
Does that conclude your testimony?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for doing so. This does reside in District 3, so Commissioner Summer Hour, if you will take it from here.
Do you have a survey?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, this was not entered into the file when you applied, so,
Yeah, it should have been, but I can get it entered into it for you.
well, it's a little late at this
Okay.
particular point. So your request for the increase in impervious is pretty big. So what are you going to do to help with the impervious reduction? Or increase?
We can do whatever is, recommended by, stormwater and all that. We can do something for it.
Okay. And there's a fence maintenance easement. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, he has a fence between him and the neighbors behind him and all that, so he's aware of that too, that he has to take care of it and stuff.
Okay. Well, given the fact that we've just seen your survey, I'm going to ask Andrew Heath to come forward and discuss the stormwater issues that he found with your case. Thank you.
And while Andrew's coming up, Commissioner,
What?
while Andrew's on his way up, Commissioner Summerhour, the survey he submitted that's on your screen right now is the same one that's in the variance book.
Okay, I was reading off of staff comments that,
But I think Andrew's comment was to provide one when they do the mitigation.
got it.
Hello, Andrew Heath, Cobb Stormwater Management.
Hi. If you will please elaborate on your comments for this case?
Yes, so this lot is an RA4 lot. It allows 40% impervious coverage. And if I recall, I believe they're asking for 54 point something percent impervious coverage for the improvements that they are seeking, or total on the lot. There's, for the home itself and the walkways and things like that, all of that is adding up and contributing to that maximum. Usually in cases like this where they're going beyond the maximum impervious area, usually not opposed to it as long as they provide the mitigation beyond the maximum that would be allowed. And this one, I guess the main concern here is how we would actually go about doing that. As you mentioned, there is an easement along the rear of the lot for the maintenance of that fence there. And then there's some other areas there, as you can see on the survey, that are already built, walkways and things like that. So an a mitigation system basically would be some system to capture some of the runoff from the site, put it in a system that could somehow infiltrate some of that runoff into the ground. So the question just becomes, where could we do that on site? There's probably a solution there if the owners are flexible and can try and accommodate that. Because they do have the survey, I'd be glad to meet with the applicant, but it would kind of be good where they're on an RA4 lot, you don't have a lot of area really to play with. You've got to be really strategic about your use of that area. And so probably would be good to use their survey, sit down and help them to figure out where they could build that system and make sure they can get the improvements that they want and the system on the lot. And so if the board approves that, I can do that with them.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. So I are there any comments from the board?
I do have a couple of questions for the applicant, if
Sure.
you can come up, please. In understanding the proposed replacement sunroom/deck, is it going to be larger than what is currently in position?
No, it's going to be, the deck is going to be the same size, and then part of the deck will be covered with the
Enclosed.
sunroom.
Understood. Thank you. That's what I need to know.
Any other questions? No. Okay, so my motion is to approve the variance with a maximum impervious coverage of 40%. And I would encourage the applicant to meet with stormwater management to figure out the best plan for making that happen. And that is my motion.
We have a motion from Ms. Summerhour. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second from Ms. Swanson. Call to question. It passes 5-0. Next case.
Okay, next case is variance case V18, Ernest Crumley. Request a variance to 1, reduce the front setback from required 35 feet to 31 feet. And number 2, reduce the setback for an accessory structure, which is a proposed 405 square foot shaded area with fireplace from required 35 feet to 5 feet adjacent to the northeast property line in land lot 253 of the 20th District. The property is located at the northeast corner of Lattimore Farm Drive and Covell Court. Is the applicant present? The applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V18? Okay, let's record show there's no one opposed.
Good afternoon. Likewise with the other applicants, if you will state your name for the record and begin speaking.
Good afternoon. My name is William O'Grady, and I'm representing Ernest and Beverly Crumley. I'm the project manager for them. So we are requesting to move a shade pavilion to the back of the property. And the reason why we have done that is for several reasons. The first hardship is that originally we were going to put it to the right of the pool where the spa is, and it would have been a lot of structural congestion for the Crumleys as well as for the neighbor. It would have been very close to the neighboring property and their outdoor living space. And in doing that, and even trying to create a landscape buffer there between the neighbors, it would have greatly restricted the access to the back of the yard. There's no homeowners behind this property. This land is owned by the golf course. And so sometimes they have to go back there to, in case trees fall, to kind of manage that part of their property. So this is part of their access to get to that part of their property. Because of the creek, they can't cross the creek. The creek that is at the bottom of this property here. The second one is by moving it to this area, it also allows us to put in more drainage, drain pipes. This is a very large house, a lot of water coming off the roof. So this will allow us to put more drain pipes in and to disperse the water into this area more evenly. We've met with erosion control and they've given us some ideas and some plans on how to do that. And the third reason, the third hardship would be is that Mr. and Mrs. Crumley are both in wheelchairs, and they're building this pool for their children and grandchildren. And currently, their accessibility to being outdoors is very limited. And so this would create some nice living space for them, as well as the reason for the pool is part for physical therapy for them. And so we wanted to move it here because this is a green space. This is a space owned by the golf course. It's a wooded space. In the summertime, there's enough foliage that you cannot see the golf course from there, and the golf course cannot see the home from there. And this would just allow them to be able to go outside and enjoy the outdoors and sort of be in this very private wooded area. We feel like it was very ideal for a location for the neighbors as well, and both of them did sign off on it.
Does that conclude your testimony?
Pardon me?
Does that conclude your testimony?
Yes, it does.
Wonderful, okay. This does reside in District 1. Commissioner Boulogne, if you will lead our discussion.
Sure. Why don't you stay right there, and then we'll go to staff after you. But so you have Noonday Creek. You're saying that's Noonday Creek right behind you right there?
Yes.
Okay. And you want to build within the 75-foot impervious buffer?
Is it within the 75-foot buffer?
Yes, part of it is.
Part of it is, yes. Just
by how much?
Slightly.
On our site plan, there's a gray shaded area that shows the portion that's in the 75-foot.
If you will also identify yourself,
I'm
please,
sorry, my
for
name's
the record.
My name's Rob Davis. I'm the contractor
Thank
on
you.
the pool. I have a copy. I have a copy of the site plan if you need, what we're proposing,
If you will put on the screen for us.
So the square in the rear with half shaded gray, half white is the structure with a chimney on the back. There's also a retaining wall that encroaches, and the pool equipment is part of the request, which is shown in the right corner.
Explain to me why it is that there's a hardship at all, why this can't be done within the existing setbacks?
Well, when we applied for the pool, we had it on the right-hand side, which that's the space to where it kind of impedes. There's a lot going on that side as far as, access to the rear green space for the homeowner. And then part of some of the thought was the neighbor was questioning pool equipment location. We had approval with location kind of on that setback line, and we felt that we could improve that, improve the neighbors' visual and what they see by moving everything to the rear and leaving that green space.
You've been out back there in this property, near the back property line? You've been
Oh, yeah.
there, right? All right, so it says that the 30-foot golf course easement, which is really for flying golf balls, right? Really comes through there, but do you ever see any golf balls back in here in this area?
I can't say I've ever seen a golf ball.
I've never seen any golf balls. It's pretty thick woods.
It's a bad shot if
It's-
there's a golf
it's-
ball there.
It's probably a couple hundred yards, I would say, 100 to 150 yards from the property line to the other side of the creek to where the actual fairway is of the golf course.
Okay.
We had the golf course on, when we were getting the pool approved, we had some issues, and golf course came out and signed off on a few things. Just with the location of like the fence and some of the trees that were encroaching.
Is the X's and dashes here, that's an existing metal chain link or some sort of fence, is that right?
That is a proposed, there's some of the fences is existing on the neighbor's property on the right.
Oh, this is proposed new, okay.
The pool has been approved and has been installed.
The pool's already in?
Yes.
So-
Well, it's not completed, but structurally is in place.
Okay, this whole area behind the pool is what exactly? This is a gazebo or what?
I think there's a picture of it on the application, but it's just a roof structure with 4 sitting on post. Open pavilion.
I saw you had a sign off from the manager of the country club. Have you talked to the HOA?
Yes.
Okay, you have a sign off from them as well?
I do not. We just felt like the general manager of the golf course was enough.
I think a lot of it was approval from the county before we started,
Yeah.
you know.
I understand there's a little chicken and egg issue there. I get that. Okay. All right. Anybody else have questions of the applicant before I go to stormwater next? All right. You can have a seat for a second then. Thanks.
You saw it?
It's not a problem.
Hello, Andrew Heath, Cobb Stormwater Management.
Okay. What kind of issues do you see with the being this close to the buffer or within the buffer?
Yeah, it's always, of course, because there are buffers there to keep development away from the stream. As the gentleman mentioned, this is a tributary to Noonday Creek. And so only that portion of that patio area that's shaded in gray that extends mostly out to the property line, only that little tip of that gray area, or I shouldn't say the tip, that gray area is what's inside that impervious area setback. So it's always just from a policy standpoint, if we don't have to be inside the buffer, if we don't have to disturb inside the buffer, if we can achieve what we want to achieve without encroaching further onto the creek.
Are you able to get a pointer on this and show us all precisely how much of the gazebo area would be implicated or is within this stream buffer? Because I see it's 74.32, so it just seems like it'd be a whole lot easier to shave a foot off this thing than.
Yeah, as best I can tell, the dashed line that you see kind of following along the tip there, that's the edge where you can see it labeled there, buffer. And so that gray shaded area right there, that's what's protruding inside the buffer line. And the creek is further down here. So what they're proposing to do is for the area that's being infringed inside the buffer, they want to compensate that with like a buffer mitigation area where they would make this area basically part of the buffer and then eliminate the buffer there. That's their plan. And so usually our goal is just to, if we can, the buffers are there to protect the creek, and so to keep intrusion out of it. If, for instance, if that buffer, or pardon me, if this patio area were just ended basically at the edge of that buffer, they wouldn't need any buffer variance. They could still have this kind of jut out of patio area, and it wouldn't be within the buffer. That's usually our goal, just for protection of the watershed.
What other comments, if any, does Stormwater have on this?
Because this is a rather large lot, I believe they were under their maximum impervious area, so they didn't have to provide mitigation. And I don't recall that really we had a lot of other comments other than that impervious buffer issue we discussed.
All right. Anyone else have questions of Andrew? All right. Let me just go to, thank you. Let me just go to Mr. Peterson. Do you have any thoughts on this?
There's a reason why the staff did not include the impervious surface buffer into the variance request. It's because any lot platted after 2000 is where the 75-foot impervious buffer applies to. This lot was platted in 1989 or 1990.
Okay.
So the 75-foot impervious buffer does not apply to this lot.
All right. I've been with this group for a little over 7 years now. To what extent have we done this kind of, well, you're saying because of what you just said, the mitigation wouldn't really pertain at all?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. If anyone else has any questions, Mr. Peterson. So what my recommendation to do at this time, my motion would be that we hold this for 1 month so I can talk to somebody with the Merida Country Club HOA, just to make sure we're not spending a lot of time contemplating what is just a chicken and egg situation.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions or concerns or comments about the motion before we ask for a second? All right. Can I get a second, please? Second from Ms. Russell. Call to question. It passes 5-0 to hold till next month's meeting. Mr. Peterson, do we have any more cases?
Yes, we have one more case.
All right. Let's hear that one.
Okay, variance case V21, Farnez Carr requests a variance to 1, allow an accessory use, which is a proposed pool to be located on the side of the principal building. Number 2, allow an accessory use, which is the proposed pool equipment to be located on the side of the principal building. Number 3, allow an accessory structure, which is proposed freestanding deck number 1 and freestanding deck number 2 to be located on the side of the principal building. Number 4, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure, which is proposed freestanding deck number 1 from required 5 feet to 2 feet. And number 5, reduce the front setback from required 50 feet to 49 feet in land lots 977 and 1040 of the 16th district. The property is located on the west side of Indian Hills Parkway, north of High Green Drive. Is the applicant still present? The applicant is present. And earlier there was, let me see here. There's one person opposed. All those who wish to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in.
To the podium, yes. Good afternoon. Thank you all for your patience. You are the last case of the day. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, you have, state your name for the
Yes.
record and let us know what your various request is.
Thank you. My name is Farnaz Carr. I go by Farah, not related to Farrah Fawcett. First of all, thank you so much for having us here. We live in the Indian Hills Country Club community. We've been living there for several years. We're one of the few homes that was purchased in the last few years that wasn't torn down and built as new construction. Our home is a beautiful ranch that we've remodeled, where we're raising 3 young children under 7. And our neighbors are wonderful and are living in very large new construction homes. And before I kind of get into the details of it, have signed off on our proposed plan once there was further clarification. So both of our neighbors and the Indian Hills Country Club have signed off on our proposal. So we did not know at the time, but have learned ever since, that we have a kind of a unique property condition. This property is uniquely burdened by multiple permanent rear yard easements not commonly found on similarly zoned lots. These easements eliminate the rear yard as a feasible location for a pool, creating practical difficulty under strict applications of the ordinance. These conditions were not created by us and are recorded permanent constraints. The request is limited to the minimum side yard relief necessary to accommodate a pool outside all easements. The request maintains neighborhood character, safety standards, and the overall intent of the zoning ordinance. The proposed location avoids easements meeting safety requirements and does not create material impact to adjacent properties. So we are very lucky in the sense, in some aspects, that right now there's absolutely zero landscaping. There is 0 trees on the side yard. Our view is our neighbor's wall that has no windows, so they cannot see onto our property. It is a solid wall. And they've put up a fence and we've put up a fence. Between their fence and the fence that we have that will remain, we are already 2 feet into our property. I think originally we put up the sign, and then I had surgery, and then I was reached out by ICCA stating that they had some concerns. We couldn't meet at the time because I was recovering from my surgery. So since then, well, right after then, we found that they had reached out to the owners of the property that would be adjacent to the pool and had expressed some concerns. Once we spoke to both of them, we met at our home and we reviewed some of the concerns that they had. There was more clarification, and our neighbors' concerns were addressed. ICC did express some concern about that I had never heard before about creating a precedent about an easement. And my understanding of the law is that the easement is very case specific, and it will always be case specific. So if this is somehow approved, it doesn't necessarily impact anyone else in that community. The beauty of this project really is to, before we did anything, before we paid the $8,000 that we would pay to a landscape architect to come in and really create a beautiful landscaped area, before we did that, we wanted to make sure that our neighbor understood all the things that we want to do. So one of the things that is so important to us is privacy. We weren't aware that golfers can walk up to our living room wall as they can because of the easement that's there. We also didn't realize that we're going to have privacy issues from the street. You can currently, as you drive by our home, see directly into our backyard. So a lot of these solutions, because we deeply believe in maintaining the integrity of our mid-century modern home and have done that by not tearing it down, we believe that a big part of the solution is going to be the landscape architecture that's going to go in. And we didn't want to spend that money until we knew that we could actually do the pool. A pool is just a small part of what the landscape architecture is meant to do. And what it's meant to do is to create privacy where there is no landscape right now. So there will be landscaping along the fence wall where the pool is. There will be landscaping where you drive by and you can actually see greenery. This is also very important for safety because we know we have to fence off the entire area. We have young children. Our neighbors daughter is the same age as our daughter and our friends, so we know that there's a safety issue, but we also know that we have to have access for the golfers. So landscape is going to be a big part of the solution, and so a lot of the concerns that the ICCA mentioned to us was really had to do with this idea that we're building this ginormous pool right up against our property line, and that's not the case. We need to have definitely multiple feet away from even where we are at the property line to have the trees, the evergreen trees that are going to be tall enough to create the privacy. We also, unlike our previous case, we do have a problem with stray balls. In our, it is our son, our 3-year-old son, funnest thing to do is to collect them. And so we do have to keep that in mind and making sure that we're putting in trees that are not there right now to provide the safety needed when we are spending time on our pool. The other clarification I want to make here is that the decking, I'm not sure if it's, but we're really looking at just something that is just slightly off of elevated from the pool, that is just a surface where we can have lawn chairs or something like that. It's not like a concrete structure or anything like that. Mark, did I leave out anything?
Does that conclude your testimony?
I'm not sure. Give me 1 second.
Sure, you have 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
The other concern that the ICCA brought up was noise. And so we don't believe that that is really a concern, because they said that when you have a pool, you have children playing outside. Our children are playing outside regardless. And that is why we are in the Indian Hills community, so that our children can walk to school and they can have friends. And our goal is to have our children play outside. So we don't, unless we are blasting music and somehow interfering with the noise ordinance, I don't see that as a concern. That's, I think, it.
Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
testimony.
Thank you.
Since this does reside in District 3, Commissioner Summer will lead our discussion.
We need the opposition.
Oh, I'm sorry, we do have opposition, so I'm sorry.
Yes,
If
we
you
do.
have a seat, I apologize. I forgot that there was opposition. If you will come up, ma'am, state your name for the record, and you do have 10 minutes to share with us your concerns.
Hello, I represent the Indian Hills Civic Association. I think there might be a confusion between the Indian Hills Country Club and the Indian Hills Civic Association.
Madam Chair,
by
if we
the
can get her
owners.
name for the record.
Ma'am, if you can state your name for the record, please.
Virginia Choate.
Thank you.
I am the Exterior Affairs Director representing the board of the Indian Hills Civic Association. And we have had several meetings with the owners and the neighbors. We had one with the owner and several with the neighbors that are on the side of this proposed swimming pool. We understand the position of the ECCA, the East Cobb Civic Association, opposing the variance. Also, we acknowledge that the position of the owners of 901 Indian Hills Parkway appears to have some vagueness, which is disturbing. We do not oppose or support the requested variance. However, the drawings do not show a wall facing a major road on Indian Hills Parkway, nor a wall facing the golf course. We also agree with the East Cobb Civic Association that wanting a swimming pool is not a hardship for building over the setback. One other point is that the owners of 901 Indian Hills Parkway are a builder and a realtor. It is puzzling that they did not understand the rule of no building on the golf course, and this is their reason for this build on the side of their house, going to within 2 feet of the setback. This has been set by the Indian Hills Golf Country Club since the subdivision was built. They have the rights to all of the backyards the Indian Hills Country Club, has the rights to all of the backyards of all houses on the golf courses back 30 feet. They also send out notices regularly to all homeowners that live on the golf course, stating this. The zoning board should never consider the Indian Hills Civic Association's position on any specific variance as a precedent for approving any future variances. As a general policy, the Indian Hills Civic Association opposes variances to R20 zoning, which we regard as already quite liberal and flexible. Indian Hills has had a lot of ranches with larger lots for sale since it was established. That's it.
Does that conclude your
Yes.
testimony? Thank you so much. If you would have a seat for us. And I jumped the gun the last time, but I will now turn it over to Ms. Summer Hour for our discussion.
If I can have the applicant come back up. Hi. Would you like to address the issues that the different groups opposing or having issues with have brought up?
So just to clarify, I'm not a realtor, I'm an orthodontist, but I am a fine arts major. And my husband is a builder, but he only builds new construction. So I just want to clarify that. Mark, would you like to address the concern?
Any specific question that?
About the pool equipment, is there some other place y'all could look at putting it?
So right now, the area that we have proposed makes the most logical sense. It's closest to the power source, and we could easily bring gas line there. As of right now, what the site plan shows, as my wife indicated earlier, we haven't gone completely to complete it for permitting purposes. But once we do that, we're gonna exactly show the location of the pool equipment. That area will be fenced off. So from the street level, you will not see it, as well as we're gonna be screening it with landscaping and everything. So from neighbor's lot, from street level, the pool equipment will not be visible.
Oh, okay. That was definitely one of their concerns, and then the fencing was the other, but you just mentioned that that was going to be handled. Roughly, I mean, do balls kind of come in pretty much every day at some point?
Yes.
Yes.
We actually have, the Indian Hills Country Club has been really great. We've had our windshields broken a few times.
My car, and they actually went ahead and reimbursed
But they have
us.
reimbursed us for that. We do have a plan in place because of the way that our lot, so they've been very accommodating in the sense of trying to address some of these security issues.
safety.
I mean, not security, safety issues, right? Because like I said, our kids do play outside, but they have moved, I'm not familiar with golf very much, but they have moved a place where I guess people tee in a direction that would kind of not have people want to shoot it right at our house. So that has helped some. The other part of this solution will come is we have two really big trees at the very corner of our lot where the side where the pool would be, and we've discussed putting up a fence that you would typically see because we just want to make sure that when we are in that area, that's where we spend most of our time is because we have when we renovated the home, we renovated that whole wall so that we can see out into that area. And so that's where our kitchen is, our living space is. We look out to that. So the left side is the main area of our living space.
As far as stray balls are concerned, we do get majority of the balls actually coming into the backyard and not the side yard. That's another reason why we wanted it from a safety perspective and privacy perspective. If we put obviously we cannot put it in the backyard because of the easements, but if the easements weren't there and a pool was there, there will be a significant number of balls dropping in that area. And as you know, because of the easement that the golf course has, they will come into our area, into our space that the kids will be playing and swimming. So most logical place is on the side yard. A, it will be outside of all the easements. Two, from a privacy perspective, we could landscape that area and keep it private from both street level and our neighbors as well, and which they are in agreement with our plans. And from a safety and privacy perspective, safety meaning that stray balls coming there travel in that direction less compared to the backyard. And by putting mature landscaping along the property line, we're creating a artificial screen that which prevent the balls, coming in, like they will hold on to it. And from a privacy factor, again, we will be, our landscape architect will be designing that space such that even if the golfers come in to retrieve their balls, that area will be it will be an L-shaped area, basically, that will be fenced off by landscaping where they cannot look into the pool area.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very much. You can have a seat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does the board have any questions? No? All right, I'm prepared to make a motion to approve the V21 with all staff comments, and that's my motion.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Second for Ms. Swanson. Calls a question. It passes 5-0. That takes care of V21 is approved. I think we are done with our regular case agenda. Thank you, Mr. Peterson. We have a couple of housekeeping items to address. I will address a motion for the approval of the minutes. Had we, after confirming that we all have reviewed, have we? All right, I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Second by Ms. Swanson. Call to question. Minutes are approved 5-0. And might I please have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
We have to vote to go.
We can vote to go.